Was cutting it close where I was out at the Lloyd Noble Center main floor. It looked like my grade school, St. Peter and Paul High School in Naperville, Illinois, with 8 garbage cans around the floor dealing with leaks. So that's where I just came from. That's my shot for, I always got to throw in a new shot for an arena.
We'll go right into questions, everybody. Anybody want to start us off? We'll go right into Cliff.
Hey, Porter, it's good to see you again.
You too, Jesse.
Hey, I wanted to ask you about Los. I know you talked about how important it was for him to come back and be a part of this, but just for his development, what are you, from last year to this year, where are you looking for him to grow?
He's a prime example of continuity, having guys get in your program. He came in, he earned the spot after 7 or 8 games, and then I thought he flourished. I thought in conference play, he averaged almost 9.5. And I thought he just grew and grew and grew. The offseason, as good as I've been around the development. He's up well over 190. He came in at 170. He looks stronger. He's playing with a great pace. His shot looks better. His leadership looks better. And on every facet, I'm excited for his development. And that's what you want. That's why these day and age with kids being able to transfer. But him locking in, having a great offseason. But he's definitely ready for the next step, leadership-wise too, because, he's definitely a guy right out as a sophomore, which is still young. Everybody, he's unequivocally our leader as a sophomore, and he's handled it great.
So how hard is it in this day and age? I think you've gotten somewhat used to it, of having to almost build relationships from scratch each summer. What are some of the things that you did trying to build some connection?
Yeah, so a lot of times I've used, and I know when I was with Coach Majerus, we'd always talked about freshmen having this race to maturity. Like if you're playing a lot of freshmen, there's a race to maturity. And sometimes you think that's your emotional maturity. But now you have so many new guys, there's also a race to maturity for your team and newcomers, not only emotionally, but have their game mature with what you're doing, to get them on page with your system, on page with your culture and your relationships with them. And that has been something that I keep saying every year. I hope this is not the new normal where you got 8 or 9 guys, and we are in it again with this many new guys. But the summer is big, spending time with them, playing, getting together, getting to know them. Nothing builds relationships like time, and but it's so important, because that race to maturity also comes in race to trust. Your race to trust, and when you push somebody and you're trying to push them and get them better, sometimes the portal recruiting is 10 days. It's 10 days. And then they're picking a school. Sometimes it's a little longer, but it's so fast that when they get there, you got to build trust and love. Building trust and love takes time. And that's a challenge when you have that whole room, like a lot of people in the room. And that also is why it's so important to have guys back, like Milos, Sam, Otega. Those guys were through it last year. And you hope you have 8 or 9 guys coaching that up, but we don't. But that's why it's so important those leaders are so much on board of where your direction and how we do things.
Porter, nothing makes sound harsh, but why do you feel in the 3rd year you've actually nailed what you need to do in the portal this time? What feels different?
Well, I think what feels different in the portal this year is I think that just the flat-out talent level, and we were able to address needs. I think last year we got 2 guys that needed a waiver. So the NIL and all that doesn't come into place when you needed a waiver. We took Luke Norweather, was a high school player. We took Sam, who was a walk-on. He actually paid us, not the other way around in this NIL world. So this time around, we were a little bit better in that area. I think I think our talent level and the need level, I think we addressed it more in the transfer portal. I think we got a little older. I think, we signed some guys that have had some experience, Latrey Darthard, Rivaldo Soares, that have, Javen McCullen's in his third year, John Hughley. So we addressed some guys that have been through it, but we also have some needs. I said I want speed. I want some shooting speed, some length, athleticism. I mean, my staff was here. They could say, oh my God, there's meetings of what Coach was saying in the meetings where we wanted to address. And I thought we addressed them. I thought we did more in the spring recruiting transfer portal than we have done my first 2 years.
Porter, in a similar vein, a lot of new faces are going to get to meet a lot of these guys today. For a fan who says, I don't know this team, it's changed over each year, what would be your pitch to somebody to get them to come on November 6th or February 6th to see this team, and what would be different?
Well, I think what's different, I just think we're noticeably playing it faster, we're more athletic, we're longer. I think we're deeper. I think we've had drop-offs when we've got into our bench the last 2 years. I think we're deeper. I think we can go into the bench and have some guys that have played a lot of college basketball before, instead of going into the bench and having some freshmen and some guys that haven't never played before. And it's not to say we're not going to play freshmen. We got 2 really good freshmen on our team right now. What I was going to say is I think this team is a likable, high-energy team. I think we're going to be able to create some offense with our defense. So I think it's. But anytime you're longer and faster, you can create a more havoc defense. You can create a more fast-paced offense, and I think that's what's trending right now with our team. We got a long way to go. Make no mistake about it. We got a long way to go, but. When you see us play and you've seen, you can just noticeably tell that we're covering more space, the tempo is faster.
Go hold it then, James. Porter, just, third year now in this, here, what have you learned about competing in the Big 12, and is this roster reflective of knowing what it takes to compete in the Big 12?
Yeah, so the Big 12's been old. I think no conference has done better in the portal than the Big 12. If you look at each roster, some of the best portal guys in the country went to the Big 12. And it's just been old. I remember my first year, we had 6. There was when I got the all conference ballots at the end of the year, one of the categories was freshmen, and there was 6 freshmen on the ballot, and we had 2 of them. The same thing happened last year. We had 2 of the freshmen on the ballot, and there's only been 6. Freshmen, it's very hard. It's been hard because the league has been so old, and some of the freshmen that were on the ballot were lottery picks, But so one is it's old and it's physical. The defenses are elite. I think we all talked about one of those stats at one point, like all 10 teams were in the top 40 in defense at one point. And you have to have some speed. The defenses are so good. I think just some speed to break you down, to cause the domino, some length to rebound. And I think we're going to get more possessions. Offensive rebounding has been a focus for us. But I think this league has been long, athletic, old. And I think what we've done for that is I think we're older, we're longer, and we're faster. And so that's what I've learned from being in this league.
Porter, every year, where do you think you're going to get your scoring from?
Yeah.
Who's going to do the big bucket? You got 2 guys.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Do you think you can get more easy buckets this year, fast break buckets, or maybe you haven't done that?
Yeah, James, I definitely think we're that's been a key for us is to get more easy baskets through transition, through offensive rebounding. And so the good and the bad of this, we had a scrimmage and you had 7 players between 8 and 11 points. So the good is it's balance. There's 7 guys that got you more than 8. The scary thing about it is that no one got me 25, so I do think we're going to be balanced. I will say this, I'm on my Final Four team at Loyola, we had a bunch of guys that hovered around that double figure area, 9 through 13. So it's not a bad thing when you got balance. It's actually a good thing. It's just night in and out, you don't know who's going to like this. Automatically, he's going to give me 20. The scoring in practice has been very balanced, and I think that's been a good thing. It's been deeper. But you definitely, you need to get easy baskets in the Big 12. And easy baskets are even hard to come by then, looking at some of the scores. But definitely through transition, through pushing the ball, I think we're going to be able to have two dynamic point guards playing together, in terms of J.V. McCollum and Milos. Both can shoot it, both can create for others, both have some speed. And I think that's exciting.
Let's go to Ryan and Chris. We'll go with Ryan.
Or talking about rebounding, with the addition of John, how much more equipped are you guys to stand the physicality of this league this year down low, especially defensively?
Yeah, John is different than we've had. I mean, he's more of an Elton Brand. I've thrown that out. So my players are like, who's Elton Brand? But for us that all know, a very, very power player on the post. With him, when his conditioning and his mobility is present, there's a lot. It's very hard to switch with him, and that's one area that you'll want to watch, because what happened last year with R5 and a lot of teams in the league would just switch, and to switch, you got to either make them pay because you got so much speed they're breaking you down, or you make them pay because that big they can't handle the switch inside. We really didn't do either last year. I think there's times we struggled with the teams that switched. John makes it very hard to switch. He is a wide base, a very strong base, has scored down there. So I think that's something that I think that he's going to bring to. We haven't had anybody, and I will say this: the trend in college basketball are going away from guys like that. Like you're seeing, there's not a lot of guys. Like we had some analytic, and I got to check with my guy, but it was something like we only like 7 post catches per game against us. There's not a lot of teams who are just coming down, throwing the post. So you're not seeing those kind of players. You're seeing a more mobile 5. But John's something different. He's a weapon, because if you were going to switch that ball screen, he really carves out space, and he's hard to get around, and he's got great hands, good passing touch.
Yeah, Coach, in what ways did you challenge Sam to improve this offseason, and what do you expect his contribution to look like?
He's gained 14 pounds. Sam's tough, but he had a weight disadvantage inside. He's over 230 now, and he's physically stronger. I've really hit him about a motor. Sam uplifted the game when he got in. I think he led us in offensive rebounds. He's a great roller to the rim because he's athletic. You can throw it around. He got a lot of lob dunks. I think he led us in dunks last year off the bench. But his motor, transition-wise, when he gets out and rim runs, he really puts pressure on the defense, because even if they come in, he's opening up a 3. Of playing at a faster rim-to-rim pace, offensive rebounding. I've told him, I go, you don't have to make the 3, you just got to shoot it. I want him to be a threat to shoot the ball, because we'll do shooting drills and his shot looks great. So I've told you got to shoot it. Now, if he yanks 5 in a row and misses, then I might have a problem and pull him back. But I want him to be able to feel comfortable to shoot it if they're going to play him in the paint. He's got a nice looking shot. I want him to lead and be more vocal. But I think his strength has now helped him, because he's always been tough. Now he's got 15 more pounds to help him with that toughness. And I think that's where you're going to see him also take another step.
Yeah, we're just curious how the young guys are kind of coming along. I see that Cade and Jacob. How Jacob's doing? Kind of hurt his foot.
Yeah, both of them are absolutely are learners. They hang on every word you say. Now, Caden is just extremely quick twitch, athletic, great reaction time, has made strides every week. Every week, both those guys are better. Jacob has a great amount of confidence. He's coming off that ACL from last year, and he's just got a high level of confidence. Both of them are longer athletes. I mean, Caden's every bit of 6'6", like quick twitch athleticism. Defensively, great instincts defensively. Jacob's got a great feel to pass. He's every bit of 6'8". So it's 2 long freshmen to grow and build with. We got some older guys that hopefully are showing them the way a little bit. But the biggest thing, the takeaways, are their initial athletic ability coming in, combined with their just this youthful, I don't know it all mentality. They're hanging, they're asking a million questions, they want to get better. They're seeing that we're older, and they're like, hey man, they want to stay up and learn and get better, and I love that about those two.
I don't know if it's about the makeup of his team and the guys who have that you work with them and having this group. Is there any comparisons to his coaching forward in terms of the chemistry and things like that?
Yeah, way too early. It's way too early. I tell, I always reference my mentors, but Tony Baroni used to say to me, man, if you don't like your team in September, you're in for a long dang year. It's like, because right now there hasn't been that much adversity, and like, I always thought about that in September. Name another coach that's sitting here, right here going, we have a lot of problems coming up. I mean, no one's saying that. Now, don't take that out of context and put that in like Porter said there's a lot of problems coming up. No, but like, it's too early to make comparisons but I can tell you this, this is an exciting team because of we just haven't been deep here. We're deeper. This is an exciting team. We just haven't had tremendous length or athleticism. We're longer and more athletic. We got some different, unique pieces. There's a piece that the same thing happened at Media Day in Kansas City. We went 25 minutes and not one person asked me about one of the names that's probably been doing the best in practice every day. And that's exciting. That's exciting. And so we got some different, unique pieces to what we're doing. And so it's too early to make comparisons, but I like that this team is continuing to get better. And I will say this, the best teams I've ever coached, and most coaches will say this, are the teams you're pushing to get better a lot in the summer, in September and October. The teams that are continuing to push to get better, October, November, December, are playing their best basketball in January, February, March. And this team's got to show me that, and that they're just going to keep pushing to get better. I knew that was coming. Luke Norweather. Luke is, we redshirted him last year. He gives you something different. He's every bit of 6'11", and he's got an elite catch and shoot shot. He can in practice, but he's different. I've been playing him at the 4. So you playing him big, and he gives you a unique person. Ask Milos that question. Milos loves finding him because he's a big target on the perimeter, and Milos loves finding him on the perimeter because he's 6'11", and it's just catch and shoot. And sometimes big guys, it's like a Ferris wheel. It takes a round and round and round to get that three-point shot off. It's just, Luke is just catch and shoot. How many Ferris wheel comparisons in the country right now about 5-man jump shots?
Or you mentioned Latrey earlier, just his experience.
Yeah.
He's a guy who took Kansas City with you. How much are you counting on him for leadership? And has he kind of come alongside Milos to be that for you?
A lot. Just really like Latrey. I will compare him to somebody that I've coached before. The all-time winningest player I ever coached at in the history of Loyola is Lucas Williamson. He was a two-way player, could really make shots, and just the grittiest, fundamental position defender that I've coached. He was on the all-defensive team, and he was all-league. Latrey was that for Utah Valley. He was on the all-defensive team, and he was on the first team. He can really knock down shots, and he is an exceptional positional defender where he's supposed to be at. He locks guys up, and counting on him a lot. He's older. He's been through a lot of games. Not afraid of the moment. Not afraid of the level. Not afraid of the level. You look at some of his games in the past where he's played against higher level teams. Doesn't faze him. He's older. He's got a maturity about him. But and I'll make that note. You talked about it, me counting on him because he's a captain. His peers voted him captain, not the coaches. That says something. That his peers voted him a captain.
Yeah, Porter, there are a lot of dots you could connect for some of the Porter guys. Jalen Moore, though, seemed came out of left field. Where were the connections there? How excited are you about it?
Well, that spot was an athletic 4-man who was going to be older, and we thought we had that person until a couple days before the portal, and then he decided to transfer. So then we kind of just jumped in, and it was just a relationship building thing. There wasn't like we knew his people or anything like that. It was just we watched a lot of film, talked to his old coaches. He started playing basketball late in his life, You know, it wasn't like he's been playing AAU since he was 6. You know, he started late in his life in his high school career. And he started a lot of games at Georgia Tech. He had like 9 points a game. But he is, I'll challenge him to be as athletic as anybody in the Big 12. He's anybody in the country. I mean, he's 6'6", 225, elite athlete, elite character. He goes so hard, sometimes he gets too sped up, and we're trying to have him change speeds a lot and recognize what's going on a little bit. He's been our leading rebounder from the day we walked in. We stat everything. He's been our leading rebounder. He finds a way to make plays. He's really good on-ball defender. He's very active, and he's just continuing to learn our defensive system. He's continuing to learn our offensive system. But you will notice Jalen Moore when he plays. He's all over the place, whether he's running. You might notice him for 2 mistakes, but you're going to notice him for 2 offensive rebounds, a lob dunk, a steal, a fast break layup. He's involved because he goes hard and he's an exceptional athlete.
You talked about how deep the team is and stuff. Do you kind of have an expectation for rotation and starters, or do you expect it to be pretty fluid this year?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question. We're still searching for that, and it's a good problem. You know, we were trying to figure out who's going to be our 5th starter. So like now, I mean, it is going to be an issue because I think it's very hard. It's very hard to play 10 guys. Because your top guys are going to get some minutes, and your best teams are going to it's like the NBA. Before the game, the NBA knows who their 8 in the rotation is, and you know if you're not getting in the rotation. Sometimes when you're playing 10, am I going to play or not? You know, and that uncertainty sometimes leads to not your best, and that's what's hard about having a huge rotation. It's a good problem to have. I don't know yet. We have a scrimmage coming up. We have a Crimson and Cream inter-squad scrimmage before we tip off. We have 9, I think, practices left before we tee it up. And you know what? It's going to be fluid. Like what happens day 1 might not be what happens. I mean, look, you know, our starting lineup, Los came in and took the spot by game 8. So there could be some of that. You know, as these games go. What I do know is it's a good problem. I'd rather have trying to figure this thing out rather than I'm trying to figure out who's going to be able to be 5, 6, 7.
Turn back to the Josh. Jacob ready to go.
Is who? Jacob Cole?
Yeah.
Oh, he's fully cleared. Yeah, he's been practicing all fall.
We'll close it out with James suggesting.
In your offense, you haven't had to dump it down very much, as you said.
We haven't had what?
In your offense, you haven't had to dump it down to the post. Once Tanner played at the top of the key, he was a really good outside player. With Hewlett now, though, how much does that expand your offense, or how much does that, get you thinking about some unique things you can do in your offense?
It does, especially when you surround them with shooters. You know, if Luke's on the perimeter, Latrey, Javion, Los, some of these guys, Waldo can knock down shots. So it's tough when you got a post player and you got 2 guys on the floor that can't shoot and they're just digging and raking. So he will do that. I'm not opposed, and we've been working on other guys posting up. You know, Jalen Moore's really good inside. He did that a lot at Georgia Tech. Otega's extremely strong. He's really effective down there. You know, so we're not opposed to doing that. It's definitely not going to be come down, pound it in the post all the time because we're playing a lot faster, but it gives you something to where they're going to have to decide if they're going to switch on that ball screen, because I really feel that we have 2 guards that are exceptional off ball screens. Javion and Los, really good decision makers. They're both elite passers. You're going to notice something, and I'll say it now. They're both ambidextrous passers. They can come off right to left and throw a shake pass with their left hand. Both of them can. I think we got 2 guys that can pass. And I think with John, you just got to make the decision if you're going to switch or not.
Where you mentioned Otega just now, I wanted to ask you about him. He's a guy that got to start a lot down the stretch. Maybe just what was the emphasis for him during the offseason in terms of things he needed to work on and build on? Going into this season?
Skill and stamina. Fundamentally defense. Like he probably led us in deflections and steals, but just also being in the right place where he needs to be. You know, when you're not getting a steal, are you in the right positional defensive position? But skill. I think he's done a good job. His ball handling is much better. His passing and his shot looks better. His shot was really low. He's got his shot up, encouraging him every day to shoot it. He gets in here and works on it, but his skill level is taking a step up. Elite athlete, like his strength, you don't look at him as a true sophomore strength-wise. He wasn't a true freshman strength-wise. Physically, he can play in the Big 12 right out of the gate last year. But I think you're going to see his skill levels improved, but just his maturity as a player, like where to be fundamentally and everything, and not just, sometimes freshmen play with a reckless abandon. Sometimes that's good, but you also got to be fundamentally sound. And I think he's really improved that, knowing where to be, when to be. He's another one that's every day is, excited. Like he really gets the transition going. He had the highest fouls per minute played last year. He really draws fouls. Look at how many fouls he drew last year because he can really smash the paint. He really can get to the paint. Point A to point B, get to the paint. And with all those new rules, we just had to watch another Zoom, and it's something that the media should be on top of before this first game hits. They've changed the block charge rule. And there's going to be way more blocks on the defense. It's going to be way more blocks. They told us they looked at 100 charge calls last year, that 96 of them would have been blocks this year. And so Tega can really go downhill. And if that contact's made in that paint circle, it's most likely going to go on the defense. So he's effective drawing fouls because he can go point A to P so strong. So he's been an effective player for us this summer, and we got to take another step.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, guys.